Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So this July 8, 2025 meeting of the Board of Selectmen is now called to order at 6:01 p.m. We'll do the roll call. Mary Smith. Here. Rob Connell.
Here.
Amanda Cooper.
Here.
Alex Sassoon.
Here.
Dwayne Grzinski.
Here.
Rich Barrows.
Here.
Thank you. Before we approve the agenda, we are going to move the work session, which you see at the top of your agenda, down to item number 5. Kezia had sent out an email saying that the notice wasn't properly given because there wasn't the time on there. So we're just going to move that work session to the end of our agenda items, our action items today. So do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as modified?
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
I thought we were striking the warming hut and table it.
We're gonna table it, which do we have to do that now, or can we do that in the process? We can do this when we hit to it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So Dwayne made the motion, Rob seconded, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Okay, audience business. Members of the audience will have 3 minutes to present any matter of interest not already on the agenda. Letters will be acknowledged but not read aloud. Do we have anyone in the audience? Kezia, do we have anyone online?
Yeah.
All right, there being no audience business, we'll move on to the approval of payables. So in your packet, we have the payables dated June 20, 2025 through July 2, 2025. Any corrections or changes to these payables?
I don't have a correction or change, but I was wondering if it is possible for us to get the itemized IGA breakdown from the sheriff's office. Yes.
Yep.
Like the full, detailed invoice.
Yeah.
Super. That's it. It's not a correction, just a request. Thank you.
Any other comments or requests?
Some of the CenturyLink bills, the change one 62 cents, 3 cents. Please tell me we're not writing checks for 3 cents. Why do we have those dangling change?
Because we had credits in the account minus the 62 cents from one to 3 cents from others.
They all get lumped into one check. Oh, God. Great, thank you. It just seemed like an odd.
I saw that.
We saw.
Cost 4 cents to make a penny now.
Any other questions or comments,
No.
changes? Do I hear a motion to approve the payables as presented? Sorry,
I'll make that.
Rob. You're like the, yeah. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the payables are accepted. You also, I'm sorry, that was Rob and Dwayne. So the minutes from June 10 and the minutes from June 24. So we need to do those individually. I only have the minutes of June 10.
624 are not available.
Sorry?
624 is not available.
Okay, thank you. So we're just approving June 10. Do we have any comments or corrections to the June 10 minutes?
Make all the changes that I submitted to you? Not yet, but we will.
So do we want to wait on those?
We really, I'm fine with them as amended and with the corrections that I submitted. I don't know if anyone else has any corrections to submit.
Anyone else?
I'll make a motion to approve the June 10th, 2025 meeting minutes as Mary suggested. Seconded.
Alex, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. So the minutes are approved.
Table this.
We are going to Our first item is the warming hut, which is the IGA with Clear Creek Fire Authority. And Dennis, were you speaking on that?
Yes, I just wanted to review. We heard from Chief at the last minute, there were 3 items that he asked to be changed. They had to do with access by the town to the warming facility after he takes over and restores his equipment. Also, we had restrictions for hazardous materials on site written into the agreement. And being that he has to have what was it that he had
Yes.
on site, wanted that removed. And then also there was a list of maintenance items that they were specifically going to maintain under this agreement. We have no problem with any of those changes, but we weren't able to reach Chief before the meeting instead of pressing it, because once we do that, then one more thing will come up and we have to do it again. So we're just recommending that you table this for the next meeting, but we don't see any problems with the agreement as amended.
So,
To,
are we gonna table it or are we?
Table it.
we have to make a motion.
No.
Actually, when you did agenda approval, I don't think you tabled it. Right?
We didn't,
Right.
because I didn't know it was gonna be
The
tabled.
proper motion, you did, table ordinance number, number 2, wait, ordinance number
The IGA was,
the IGA to the July 2017.
so
Second. Okay, Rob and Mary, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. So that warming hut IGA will be moved to the July 22nd agenda. We are going to table ordinance number 2 discussion. So we will not be doing anything on that at this time.
Do we make that motion?
Do we, or do we, because we did that at the beginning? Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Who first?
Second.
Mary?
So that's the motion table to the 22nd of July. Okay.
Ordinance number 2.
All right.
Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Okay, so action item number 2, ordinance number 2 is also tabled. So our action item number 3, we have Kurt Zupak here and we have ECLT with Elevation to talk to us about the deed restrictions for affordable housing at Bighorn Crossing. Gentlemen, who would like to start?
Want me to get you an introduction? Sure. I brought in ECOT to run our affordable housing program. 10% of the units are required to be affordable. ECLT has Proposition 1239. There's, they are going to provide $70,000 per buyer. COF is also contributing to this in the neighborhood of about 50,000. So we're bringing a significant amount of money to each unit that is purchased in our affordable housing program, bringing the cost monthly fee was down below $2,000. And the one thing that's attractive for ECLT to be involved is that it's perpetual affordability. And so they are managing this affordability. The 75,000 is not just, someone can't sell it and then get that $75,000 that they're contributing to it. They are constantly allowing them to get the appreciation, 25% of the appreciation, but it continues to be an affordable project. In the I would let him continue, but the real reason is to perpetually, this affordable program for 99 years.
You need the Diet Coke?
Then we couldn't too hyper all the tours.
Yeah, thanks for that introduction. It's a pleasure to meet you all. My name is Charles Allison Godfrey. I'm the legal counsel for Elevation Community Land Trust. As Kurt mentioned, we're an organization that creates and preserves affordable homeownership opportunities across Colorado using the community land trust model. The CLT model, as Kurt hinted at, is one that creates permanent affordability in its home. So when we sell a home to someone at a given income level, currently the organization serves folks up to 100% of the area median income. We place a restriction on that home to ensure that when it is resold, it's resold at a price that remains affordable to folks at the same income level. So what that does is it really creates a homeownership opportunity as permanent community infrastructure so that folks are able to continually access this affordable homeownership opportunity. It is a balance between the needs of folks today who need access to affordable homeownership and the needs of future residents. A really significant crux in affordable homeownership creation and preservation is the amount of subsidy that's required to basically buy down the price of the home from the price that it costs to create it to the price that someone at a given income level to afford. So what community land trusts do is preserve that subsidy investment by restricting the resale price. So folks who purchase the home can sell it, and when they sell, they're entitled to 25% of the market appreciation that has accumulated in the home. The other 75% of that appreciation is effectively staying with the home to make sure the price remains low for the next buyer. So I like to describe it as kind of a stepping stone to market rate home ownership. For folks who can buy market rate homes, I don't advise they participate in this program, but this is really for folks who are currently renting, who don't have access to home ownership and the benefits that it comes with. Elevation is also unique among community land trusts in that we were founded to reach scale. So we currently have 300 homes in our portfolio across the state, with another 700 planned. And once we reach 1,000 homes in the portfolio, we reach what we call our point of organizational sustainability. And what that means is that revenue from the portfolio of 1,000 homes will support the organization's operations. So every other dollar that comes in can go straight to creating new homeownership opportunities. So it's really an efficient and an effective use of private and public subsidy. Also want to share a little bit more about our role in the management of homes. So we have a small but mighty staff of about 17, and we really are involved in the entire life cycle of the homeownership opportunity. So we're income qualifying folks, we're doing the initial marketing to bring folks in, we're doing the initial sale. We're also doing ongoing stewardship and communication with folks throughout their life cycle to make sure that, if they are facing a financial difficulty or some issue that's making it difficult for them to stay in the home, we're able to help them however we can, whether it's through funding or homeownership counseling, legal resources, things like that, to make sure that folks, most of our clients are first-time home buyers. So really helping folks who may not have that experience to have a leg to stand on to help them out if they're facing difficult issues. So we were really excited when Kurt and Centennial Opportunity Fund approached us about stewarding some of the homes at the Lakeview Flats project. We've wanted to have a project in kind of the central I-70 corridor for a long time because the problem of affordable homeownership is so protracted here. But it's been really difficult to find a project that penciled. And we were able to work it out with Kurt to a point where it does. So we're really excited to be involved with the management of the 100% AMI homes, and also can also serve as a conduit for additional funding for homes up to 120% AMI. So our ask.
The
Yes.
reason for that, as a developer, we can only provide 3% of a discount to the buyers. Through a nonprofit organization like ECLT, we can put through $50,000 is what we're planning on doing, and particularly adjust for the people that are from 100 to 120% in line. I know the ordinance is 120%, and so we do want to capture those people and have them the same opportunity. How we've got it structured is they will have the same payment as the ECLT program. I'm paying down the mortgage rate down to 5.25%, so that we're giving them the opportunity to be in this program.
So our request today was presented in a letter that was in your board packet. We reviewed the sample deed restriction from your town attorney. And while it was great in a lot of respects, we do generally prefer, for the sake of uniformity, to use the same covenant on all of our properties. So our request was to work with the town's attorney, to amend elevations deed restriction through a rider that incorporates all the terms of the Georgetown Municipal Code's, affordable housing ordinance. And in the case of a conflict between the two documents, Georgetown's municipal code would control.
And the critical component there is that they are approved by Fannie and Freddie. If we put any of these deed restrictions on by itself, Georgetown in their ordinance is not approved by Fannie and Freddie. And that would have to be approved if you were just gonna use just the ordinance. So
So it really
they
opens up.
are approved, and it's very, that's a very critical component, or otherwise we would not get independent ordinance allowed for anybody.
So I know that was a lot of information. I tried to be brief, but happy to answer any questions you have about our organization generally, or our own project, or if the request, is presented in the package. Yes.
I have a question, since you're not at your 1,000, your saturation point at this point, then how are you able to do this program until you get to that point? And, you know, a lot of the, I don't know if you guys are your businesses relying on a lot of federal monies, but a lot of that stuff is kind of flying out the window right now.
Yeah, that's a great question. So Elevation was founded with a really significant gift from 5 foundations totaling about $24 million. We also have significant funding from the state. Kurt mentioned Proposition 123. We have a $2 million contract with the state that's going on, and another $9 million contract that is awaiting signature. So we have really a lot of available funds to put into this project. We do have a few federal funding dollars, but not for this project. And in addition to that initial capital from foundations, we're also consistently fundraising with additional organizations. I just reviewed a grant agreement from another foundation last week for another $1.5 million. So our executive team is really active on that front.
So to that end, is there an idea of when or an estimate, can you estimate when this 1,000 point
Yes.
will be reached?
We're currently targeting the end of 2027.
2027.
The organization, that's a great question. The organization was founded in 2018, so we've scaled really quickly. And we've achieved, I think, some critical infrastructure right now to even ramp up more quickly. So currently 2027, the end of that year is our target.
And then you have 7 folks or 7 entities or whatever that are in the queue already that are waiting to find out if we're gonna do this.
Yes, we have people that are very interested we have a couple that are trying to get an option contract, because this is been delayed, it's just the process of getting this continent and company with it. So we've been trying to hold these other buyers in. I mean, it's great people. We have one couple that are in the fire department, both he and she work in the fire department, and they're they want to be in this program, so they're really excited. But
That was gonna be one of my questions, if any of them were local,
yes, there's
so it fits under the town ordinance.
Definitely recognize the local employment preference. We saw that in the ordinance as well, and that would 100% be respected in the rider.
I would say almost also almost 100% or below 100%.
And they're all local, you said? All these 7?
So far, yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Could we talk a little bit more about the AMI? I heard 100%, I heard 120%.
Yes.
Average median income is at 100% is about 105,000 per.
Perhaps so for, yes.
So, and 120% brings it up to about 120,000 for the household.
So Elevation's funding from the state can only serve up to 100% AMI, that's state statute. But we're also committed, as Kurt mentioned, to serving as a conduit for buyers up to 120% AMI. For additional funds that Kurt is wanting to put into the transaction as a subsidy.
Formerly PFAS, you guys have 98,100 for one person, 112,100 for 2 people. 126,100 for 3 persons and 140,000 for 4 persons.
That's-
That's
the
the AMI, that's on
Okay.
Lakeview Flats for 2025.
Got it, thank you.
How many homes do you have?
So Elevation Community Land Trust right now has 300 homes in our portfolio and another 700 in our development pipeline.
So that's.
So we're like, if our pipeline delivers, we'll be at 1,000 homes.
Very good, well, thank you.
How do you guys avoid saturating even this 10%? And you know that there's some parameters in the town code that I came on late to these developments. How do you avoid saturating? It's just almost not practical for people that are not single, like larger family homes or big homes that could probably, families. People with many people.
For sure, I can speak a little bit to our work generally, and maybe Kurt, if you want to talk more about the Lakeview Flats project. So we do try to target a diversity of unit types from studios to 4 bedrooms. And we are very conscientious of that when we're looking at, where is this project going to be? What does the community look like? What are the needs there? Are there a lot of families? Are there a lot of schools nearby? For example, just in Denver, we have 2 condo projects that couldn't be more different. One of them is comprised almost 50% of studio condos that we were selling for $150,000. We have another project that's under construction right now. It's gonna have 4-bedroom condos in the heart of downtown Denver, more for families who want that kind of urban living experience. And we do the same thing in all of our projects. We do generally target 2 to 3 bedrooms. That's kind of our sweet spot for 2 to 4 member households, but we do have some units that are larger and some that are smaller as well.
What's the current mix at Lakeview that's available in the 1 and 2 bedrooms? Are there 2 bedrooms available
There's
for this
each
project?
building, there's 10 units per building,
10.
6 1 bedrooms, 42 bedrooms.
So there are 2 bedrooms?
Yes, there is.
available?
Out of curiosity, what's the selling price on that second project that we were talking about in Denver?
So those have not been put together yet. That project is delivering, I think, mid-2026. But especially for a 4-unit project. Don't quote me on this, but I would imagine it'd be somewhere in the $300,000 to $350,000, where a comparable market rate home would be probably close to $800,000 or $900,000.
So now a question for you guys, Dwayne, so our housing authority has basically said we're not ready to undertake this endeavor, correct?
That's an
Is that-
percent. We're still, I mean, theoretically, we're still at least a month out.
Okay,
For negotiations with our executive director. So when he comes on and we can move forward, it's something we definitely want. We're just not very far.
Okay.
It's something that they can oversee.
right, no, I understand that, I just wanted, that was one of the reasons that I wanted to stall on this, was to check with our own housing authority that we're financially contributing and through IGA's supporting in other ways for many, many years. Second question, Jerry, you may have this information, or either of you. Are we only talking, so far, are we limiting this only to phase 1 of your development, or is this encompassing the next part of the project?
Sure, the ordinance applies to, projects built after the effective date of the ordinance, so it will be both phases of the.
So if we're signing off on this contract.
Yeah.
We're signing off that elevation is going to be a part of the new builds, not the, let's say that they're all done, let's consider them done. They probably are, for the next phase.
Well,
We've got another project.
We have, there's another 5 units in phase 2 that would definitely fall into this program. As I don't think the affordable housing program will have the ability to provide $75,000 per unit in all their properties. Most of these housing is being done right now, especially across 1, 2, 3 to the plan banking. The state would buy the land from the developer, so that by itself reduces the cost of the home by 30,000. And they're also then providing a bunch of those stimulus, such as probably 1, 2, 3 for this program that they do. So all of a sudden, you can get property that's worth. 400,000, that, would be 250, and so it actually has payments that are affordable for people that,
Qualify.
are making, 120%.
So are we at so some of the additions that you were talking about as far as the contractual agreement, that's still unresolved, right?
Well, then, let me try this and make sure that I've got my facts right. But I think what you're asking is Lake Tree Flats is they built in 2 phases, right? And 50 units per phase. All right, the ordinance applies to both phases because it was in place before they got that project started. What I'm hearing is this, that the first phase is on the edge of sale, right? In fact, you may have sold some units already, it's fine. 5 of those units in that first phase have to be subject to a covenant. We're now at the point, catch me if I'm getting this wrong anymore along the way, but I think I see where they're headed. They have to be subject to covenant before they market it. So the question in front of you is, will this covenant arrangement from elevation, is that all right for phase 1? That is not, to say that it is, that does not preclude your ability to look at what's the right covenant package for phase 2, which is not quite, isn't built yet. 5 units in phase 2 will have to be subjected to a covenant. And it could be an expansion of the elevation program if that is imposed on phase 1, or it could be a separate program.
Thanks, I understand our ordinance, what I'm trying to determine is, one, are we talking about entering this agreement with Elevation and Kurt for just phase 1? And the agreement that we looked at, the legal documents that we looked at 2 months ago, when it came to us, are still under negotiations, even though you're saying we've got a sheet that you want us to add it, whatever. Fill in the words for me.
Sure.
Are we ready to sign off on a contract yet, or are we still working on a contract?
More accurately, there won't ever be a contract between
Or
the
an
town
agreement.
and elevation. The town's sole role and reason they're here is that the ordinance says that these units have to be subjected to a covenant that has the following kind of minimalist elements in quote form approved by the town attorney, period, and that's it. They came to us with, and so I wrote a form of covenant,
Yes.
Which was this,
which is.
that was from May, this is what Mary's referring to from May when we went through this.
Yeah, see, that's, I wrote a form of covenant, fairly short form. Elevation said, we'd like to add your covenant to ours, larger package, because that allows elevation to engage in this management, these management activities that we're talking about, also allows the funding streams that both gentlemen have spoken about. Hopefully I'm answering your question. With respect to phase 1, they said, we're ready to go on this, we can't sell the units until there's a covenant. We like our form of covenant, can we add yours to ours? And I said, I want to ask the board about that. That really, if you say, okay, that's fine, this can move forward for phase 1, we want to reserve the opportunity to decide it's just our covenant, and therefore not an elevation program, if you wish, for phase 2, the question not yet in front of you. If you choose,
But when this came to us a couple of months ago, we didn't go, we were presented with the potential covenant. But we didn't dig into any of the questions or concerns that we may or may not have had at the point, because then we kicked it to our own housing authorities for an opportunity.
True.
So what I'm asking is, do you have the complete covenant with their attachments? And everybody's ready to sign off on that?
Yeah, I do, we'll need to fill in some blanks and do a few other things, but it's basically ready to record against
And are
five
we
units
going to
that
see
they wanna
that?
sell.
That's the question.
My question is,
Oh.
when do we see that?
I can bring it to you next meeting, honestly. The package that you saw previously
Right.
was 95% what the final version will be. That you saw previously, I think it had a Denver rider, we switched that out for the Evelyn I Road. And then it just had some blanks, so we fill those in. It would be ready to go easily by next meeting.
I'd love to see that.
Well,
Yeah.
so direction of tonight isn't to finalize that.
Oh, I understand that, the way the motion is written, but we're also saying that there have been some conversations here, and so I wanted to be able to see the final package. And I'll make this motion, as long as the final package is coming back to us,
Right.
okay? I
think
support
that's what we're
this,
talking about.
but I just wanna see those documents.
Right.
No, I think it's absolutely fair, and I'll say this, you know, you had the draft before, clearly. The board wasn't ready, and 2 months ago, they wanted to ask this question.
Right.
So honestly, I haven't done anything with the elevation covenant in mind to do that last 5% with the editing. And in tonight's meeting, and my direction to do that finalizing, that's easy to do. Thanks.
And this will be limited to phase one.
If that's your direction, absolutely.
I think that's what we're talking about, right?
Oh, we want to, I mean, limit one, let me get one done and solve. Oh, then we revisit that search too.
Because they need to move forward with these units that they have.
We need
In
to-
phase
yeah.
one, we need to look at that agreement to make sure, because we never got to ask the questions on that agreement 2 months ago, because we decided, oh, we're gonna basically put that to the side so we can go to the housing authority. So I'm hearing two things. I'm hearing they want to review that agreement, and I'm hearing that this would be limited to phase one at this time. Is that what everybody's hearing?
Yeah, sure.
And that preserves, and I'd love to hear, you should probably refer on this, but that preserves the board's opportunity to say, when phase two is ready to be marketed, let's look at this again and consider whether the elevation package works for phase two, or the local housing authorities are ready to do it.
I would think once
Can't
it's
lock
like
in.
a What?
And then low rates, I mean, 5.25 is big.
It's pretty good.
And I'm always
That's a
seeking
great
to understand that, it's where the rubber meets the road, basically, our ordinances don't address Fannie and Freddie, yours do.
So the thing is that our covenant has been workshopped by Fannie and Freddie in collaboration with this Grounded Solutions Network, which is a national nonprofit that does permanently affordable homeownership. They've worked with Fannie to get it approved so that lenders who are gonna sell their loans on the secondary market to Fannie and Freddie, which is the vast majority of lenders, they can look at this covenant and say, oh, it's been approved by Fannie and Freddie. We don't have to review the covenant ourselves, we can just see this documentation and know it's ready to go.
Yes, right now, we could not find, not one person, get a mortgage. Based on our surveys. And so. These five that we have are the locals. This drags on, it's taken a significant amount of money to just keep them, involved, engaged, and I think they've reached their limits of
Sure.
sticking around.
So,
So I have a question as to how quickly could you actually create that final document? Because to my mind, 2 weeks is too long.
Well, it's a matter of what the board is willing to direct. There's probably 3 doors, but the 2 I can think of right off.
This wasn't the
finalized.
I've had 2 people today that said, we've been dragging them on for a long time. I think the jury. I mean, obviously, know this covenant. Is there only the difference between 100% AMI and 120% AMI? Is there anything other significant item?
The resale price,
The resale.
restriction and
Right.
the Fannie and Freddie.
Which is, really, important, and in fact, it's important for you guys to think about your ordinance, because I could right now go and discount these things $100,000 and be done with it. They can sell it tomorrow to someone that is within 120% AMI, and that's the affordable housing. For that development.
So again,
There is
what
no
is the
way-
timescale
no
for getting
way
this document done?
To prevent anybody from just taking that full market value.
Well,
If it's an
let me answer Alan's question. Because I should. The drafting will be easy. Because it's all in Word docs, what I'll do is, make certain that the town's covenants properly attached to the rider. That says that in the case of, conflict of town code and town government, control. Make sure the AMI numbers, are correct. Insert the right names of the blanks. And that's the package. It will ensure that the management and sort of, subsidy, for lack of a better word, ongoing management, which is not a feature of the town's code, for the financial subsidy, which is not a feature of the town's code either, is embedded in the covenant. And then it's ready for signature.
So how quickly could you get that done?
That's done in a couple of days, but remember, the board here meets every 2 weeks. So your choices around that, and I'll shut up, and I appreciate your patience, but your choices around that are to do something like what's in the packet, direct me to finalize the covenant and work with Elevation and Kurt to record the same. And once it's recorded, then he's welcome to go out and enter into contracts and sell the affordable units. That would be an action we take tonight, but that means it doesn't come back other than for informational purposes. It goes and gets recorded. Door number 2 is, as Mary suggested, move that I be directed to do all that work. But the net product be brought back to you on July the 22nd. That's your other choice.
So here's door number 4.
Okay.
That we ask you to finalize that document and reconvene a special meeting of the selectmen. You probably find approving.
You have the right to do that.
We do. So let me just interrupt one second. Dennis, you had a comment?
Yeah, I'm just gonna ask her, Kurt, is this something that's so urgent that there should be, in your mind, a special meeting of this board to approve it before July 27th? Or can we get that approval on the 22nd and we will be okay?
I don't know, I think what I will not have the funds. I will feel horrible calling differently.
Right. Right.
If I can ask though, I mean, did you guys come in tonight thinking that we were finalizing or is that our motion wasn't, it was to direct to.
Okay, but you know,
And so-
we can restructure.
I'm
this
looking
and
to
we
direct
can-
the town attorney.
I can assure you, it's not gonna be a great situation. I just don't think that we'll ever come up with any kind of package that we can provide right now. And that we will then probably just rent the 5 units and hold them for other.
Well, my question though is because you have a phase 2, if it's this hard to find people to buy in the phase 1. And you're under this kind of stress of that, isn't that gonna cause a problem with the next phase? And I get what you're saying, Alex. The problem is if we're gonna have a special meeting with this, then what keeps every single person that walks in here having an emergency for us to have a special meeting? So I mean, I get it, it's the same thing we're trying to deal with, but it's not going to solve, we're trying
Well,
to.
it's also, it's about expectations too. It sounds like you came in thinking, oh, this is gonna be finalized. And
You know,
then
this
the
is
way this is
push.
written,
This is
Right.
like push and push
Right.
for months. And I've had these units, 50 built, 50 units done. 5 that were marketing to people that have come and said, we want to buy this unit. And we have to say that the city, town of Georgetown will not allow me to sell it to you because first it had to go be checked by the.
Well, we're not stopping you from selling it though, correct?
No, I can't sell, I can't get a contract, I can't do.
But you have, but what do you need? In our ordinance, what do we need? We have to do this with everybody that comes to us with an affordable, so why is this? So is this holding them up?
Number one, there's only a certain number There's not really any land large enough that complies with.
Well, it doesn't, that's not the.
Okay, so here's the point. I think the point is that what Kurt's looking for and what's in here is a motion. We have a motion to direct the attorney to work with Elevation on this covenant. That is our motion, correct? That is, Jerry?
Oh, most of the fact is, direct town attorney can finalize the covenant. In a form as directed by the court. Now,
For the-
certain,
for
for
the
yeah, you certainly can say. Jerry Dahl finalized the covenant. As described in this meeting, and we're done.
Right.
With phase one, and then. In the next couple of days, if it get finalized, if it get signed up and get recorded, it wouldn't come back to you on July the 22nd because we're done.
Correct.
The second door is that I create all that, but we bring it back so you can see the whole works again. Which you've seen in a form, but in fairness, that form was not,
The final
Was
form,
not final
which is
form.
what
That's
has been
true.
pointed out.
so those are two immediate choices for this. The choice of Jerry Dahl, finalize this document, bring it back to us at a special meeting.
I
That's
would
really
also
your
add,
two choices.
if I may briefly interject, so our covenant isn't recorded until sale to qualified buyer. So we can qualify folks, they execute the covenant along with our organization when they close. So in my mind, it could be possible for someone to go under option contract. For us, for Jerry and I to work together to come up with a final draft for the group board's approval at its next meeting in 2 weeks. Folks can still go under option contract in between now and then if they're ready to go. And then if and when the board approves that, then we'll have the final version. In my mind, a 2 week time period for Jerry and I to work together and to present a final draft to the board's consideration at the next meeting.
Sold, I like this guy.
Right, because and it doesn't impede Kurt from moving forward with sales, but it allows us.
That's my
on.
perspective, however. feel
We've
free to
already
weigh in.
lost somebody with the conversation about an option contract.
Okay.
You've got a young person, who's never bought anything, this is the biggest investment you've ever made. And now I'm saying, well, you have to sign this option contract. And in 2 weeks, we'll probably give you another type of contract. And
Would it be another type or would it be?
incredibly complex?
Well, the real question is, because being part of the housing authority, this helps me out. So realistically, with what you're trying to do, you have to have some elevation to help people buy these houses.
Absolutely.
As affordable.
We need-
So I mean, in a sense, within our town, which is something with affordable housing that we're going to look at, is how to navigate that. Am I correct in that?
I would totally agree with you. I think that it's
It's kind of a little bit more familiar, so I mean, I don't wanna miss that, because if it really is hurting people, then for sure,
This is a
but
great opportunity for Georgetown. This is our first
Yes,
opportunity.
for sure.
I think what Elevation is offering to us is something that we're going to be very interested in. This is the first one. The first one has a little bit of baby steps. We smooth out all those wrinkles, we look at the contract, otherwise we're signing this blind and there could be one clause in there that could either be negotiated or it's a deal killer. I don't want it to be a deal killer. But why aren't we looking at the covenant as it's going to be agreed upon between Elevation and the town of Georgetown? We've got phase one to go on. If I was waiting for how people, we've all sat there where our closings have been delayed for other reasons. If I was in a position to be purchasing a home under any of these circumstances or under any circumstances, and they told me I had a 2 week delay, you know what, I wouldn't like it, but if it's the opportunity of a lifetime, I'm gonna suck it up and I'm gonna deal with it.
$10,000.
Okay,
Yeah, but.
so wait, so Dwayne, I'm gonna interrupt for 1 second. What I wanna do now is basically get to an answer. So,
Can I?
yeah, please,
Okay, so I think everybody here is working towards the,
absolutely.
so Kurt came the first time and he heard, we'd rather you work with a housing authority. He went and worked with a housing authority to a point where the housing authority said, we're not ready yet, and now he's coming back. So tonight, Jerry was just saying to you, give me some direction. You've seen this already once and you said no. Give me some direction before we go down this road again and get another no. So I think that's very good that Jerry did that. So tonight, I think that I hear what Dwayne is said about setting a precedent for special meetings, but maybe this is a case where we should have a special meeting.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying not, it's just.
Yeah, we're not, you're right, I think we should need to be tread carefully when we're having special meetings, but if we had a special meeting, say, next Tuesday, for the sole purpose of adopting the final covenant that Jerry is going to write with elevation, I think that makes everybody happy and demonstrates that the town is in this to win. the
For
affordable
sure,
housing.
we have to do it.
Well, we give an opportunity if we're advertising that for a week for folks to show up if they have yay or nay. Or maybe other members of the housing authority board or whatever to provide any additional input.
It's
So,
super important, but I mean, we can't vote on something we haven't read.
Right.
That's it. I mean, I love it. I want to vote on it, but I have to read it to vote on it.
so for ECLT, that works for you and it doesn't, it's not a 2-week wait. I understand it's frustrating and I'm really sorry that this is dragged on like this. But we also have to be charged with, as I'm sure you understand, reading and really being sure that we're behind whatever we're signing. So does that work in terms of coming back and does that give you time, Jerry, to work together and reach this? And then we'll have time in a special meeting to read it and be sure that we're all on the same page. Is that,
Special meeting.
And Kurt,
if we do,
that helps?
then we love being together.
And
Okay.
I would add, Jerry.
Yeah.
That, to Dwayne's point, perhaps we can make some comment that this, if we have a special meeting, that this is not to be looked at as a precedent.
Certainly, and I would say that, this town board doesn't have special meetings often.
No,
It hasn't abused that notion. And there's absolutely no obligation to have another special meeting once you've had one, then we'll make sure that that's true in the notice.
so can I, how would you, who wants to make that motion?
I think what you're wanting potentially is a motion to direct town attorney to finalize the affordable housing covenant for the Lakeview Flats project and further to direct the town clerk to give notice of the special meeting to be held on July 15th at 6:00 p.m. for the purpose of considering that covenant.
Who moved, Mary
Second.
and Amanda? Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you.
Thank
We
you.
really appreciate your patience and being here
I
again.
appreciate your time.
Well, thank you so much and thank you,
Thank you all
Charles.
very much.
Thank
Yeah, thank
Thank
you
you,
very,
Charles.
very much.
We'll be in touch.
Appreciate your
Yeah,
time very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. So for the special meeting, that will be on July 15th. And we said.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
I'll work with Keisha to put together the form of notice.
Right.
Posted all that, part of this.
Okay,
And will we have that copy in email before the meeting?
Yeah, I'll put together a package that you'll get this week for sure.
Thank you.
So that you have it for the weekend.
okay, so our next agenda item number 4 is town appointments for final approval. You all have seen this, we looked at this, there were just a few things, if you look at the packet in red are the names that have been added that were not finalized. I did have a conversation with John Jennings on whether he wants to stay or go. And he wanted to stay in certain things and leave others. So we have the Clear Creek Fire Authority Board, I was added. And also to the pension board, I was added. So does this group approve that? Verbally? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then we have down for Farmers Highline Canal Proxy, Dennis was added. So are we okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have lastly, a public policy committee group that Dennis is going to form.
we are not creating that today.
No, we're not creating for it, but it's just for the future. Right.
Okay, with the fire authority, because we're supposed to have 2 positions in that.
Right, so we have Rich and.
So- And so,
John and
And
and so
John.
they're going to be alternates in a sense?
I've been going as an alternate.
No, I know, but through the fire authority, we have 2 positions that we fill. So, and we have 4 people here. I don't want the fire authority to think that we're
Well, John is the chair, and then from the Board of Selectmen, I thought it was Rich and me, and those were the two. That's how I was saying this. Is that not correct?
Well. I'm not 100% certain with this. I believe the fire authority dictates to us how many people serve on, from Georgetown.
From
on the fire
Georgetown.
authority. So that's, I'm just asking for clarification. I think 4 is glorious, however, 1 or 2 of you have to be, in a sense, subs or alternates or whatever.
Well, I've been
We
going
can figure
as,
that out.
as a sub. But I was asked by Jody when I, for the Slacker packet pickup, the county commissioner, she goes, everybody's asking, how come you're not on the fire authority board?
Yeah.
Because they have 3 positions, not for Georgetown, but no one's applying for that.
No, but we're not
And I
entitled
said-
to apply for those.
And that's what I tried to tell her.
Yeah.
And I said,
So-
you need to get clarification.
That
Telling
the
you.
county expanded that, the fire authority expanded that, but it takes in people within the,
Outside Georgetown.
with the outside of the municipalities and in
And that's
the,
what I told her. I said,
Right.
I represent Georgetown. I don't know how
yeah.
So I'll-
that would work.
So I'll get clarification on that, Mary, and come back with that, and just so we know we're not like overwhelming them with
Well, but
for Georgetown.
we can't go in there and muscle our way in with more bodies than the fire authority is allowing us to grow.
Of course, absolutely.
Currently, it has Mark and John, it's just
Correct.
as the board members. And then it does say that there's open positions. The only one that's listed in the district is Sylvan.
But we don't qualify for those open positions the way the new bylaws were written. Because we're within the boundaries of the municipality.
That's
Right.
Okay,
So-
so I'll check that out, and maybe
Yeah.
we'll be removed.
Clarification.
So then do we have approval for Dennis to be on the High Line and for, that's really the only one we need? Do we
that
have,
sounds fun.
okay,
Yes, you should.
But I'm not
Exactly.
enforcing it.
No.
okay, so our appointments are finalized. And next, we have the added item of the work session that we didn't
Wait,
have.
we need to move, are we approving the appointments as presented, or are we?
Well, we're approving
With the exception of the fire.
with the
authority?
exception of fire.
The only one that would be Dennis's appointment to the High Line.
Right, that's the only one we're approving.
We'd probably take a motion to approve the appointments as presented with the adjustments made during the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Is that Rob?
I just pulled up the fire authority IGA that was signed in December, and we have 2 positions for Georgetown.
Okay, so that's for,
So that's not selectmen, that's just people from Georgetown.
correct.
Yeah, they just get to appoint 2 stuff.
Okay. So then I will not be on this. Well, we have,
but we still need to figure out who's,
yeah, okay. So who just made that, would you?
Rob did and I seconded.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. And now we will move on to the discussion that we were going to have in our work session. This became agenda item number 5 regarding goals set for our town administrator. So you all have a new sheet that Dennis provided.
I passed out a red line version that I worked on today, adding some suggestions I've received from others, email since Sunday. And then I also have received some additional suggestions right prior to the meeting today. By my talent manager at the end of the table here. I have adding non-contributing and or non-historic under, was that goal 2?
Let's go 9.
Goal 9.
9?
I'm objective 2, or no, objective 1. And objective 2.
Okay, and then collaborate with the DRC,
Like that was under 1.
and then let's see, I wanted to also explain that these are not prioritized. Even though it seems like I started to prioritize with goal 1 being the police thing, it's the top priority right now. None of these I have prioritized, I'm leaving those to you in the discussion that happens this evening. Also, you'll notice there are no timelines. There's no dates having these done by January 15th, or because those are all based on your priorities, right? So if you have your top 3 priorities, you're gonna obviously want those to happen sooner rather than prior to goal 9. So that would also come from that. And then I've also heard the question, these aren't specific to Dennis, the person, because in my mind, the town administrator and the organization are one. So whatever you assign as my goals, they will also be reflected as the goals of the organization. And then we build these goals for our individual staff members, whether it's Q or Kasia or Bridget, based on how they could support these goals that you're setting out for the organization this evening. So with that, if you have any questions of what you've read and what I've provided, I'll let the police judge now direct the discussion.
Yes, I shall direct the discussion. Who would like to start with comments or feedback? Robbie?
I was just gonna say that I thought, and I know that I didn't wanna lose track of the whole mission of this whole thing, but, we got our treasurer, we got our town clerk, we got our town administrator, and I thought the goal was to reestablish the police.
Not, we're not there yet, if I'm.
No.
No, but as a primary goal.
I'm just saying, as a goal, I didn't mean that you were like,
We have,
but isn't that something where,
so
something that's afoot?
so what is currently happening is that we have a task force
Right.
that is evaluating all of the different options on the table. So we had a presentation from the sheriff's office that was very good. We had a presentation from Dennis about Georgetown Police Department, that was very good. We had a presentation from Kasia about hybrid sort of community policing, that was very good.
It was a low impact
It was
something.
lovely.
Everyone gets it done?
Everyone gets a gun. But the task force is ultimately gonna come to the conclusion based off of the cost that's being presented and the obstacles. I can say definitively, it would be irresponsible for us to say, we're establishing a police department or we're going to the sheriff's office today. That would be irresponsible because we don't have all of our.
No,
Yeah.
it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
nothing overnight, but I just thought,
But the two.
as a
things
goal, I
like,
thought maybe that's a
the two
primary
that
goal.
are on the table, the two biggest are sheriff's office permanently or Georgetown Police Department. Those are the two options that are still being floated and they both have valid.
So is it a primary goal? So is establishing what we're gonna do with policing a number one goal? I think that's where Rob is.
Yeah, I'm just more or less, I'm not worried about the progress, and I
But
appreciate
if
you guys.
if we get to the end of this and we come into this room and say, the sheriff's office is the best option. That is the conclusion that this, and we still get to decide. That's just a recommendation that's being made by this task force, and this board will ultimately decide. But the task force comes back and says, hey Dennis, this is what we think is best.
So Amanda-
Or it's best to have Empire.
No, that's
So
an
you're saying
example
it's not
of
a
it being a
Dennis
primary goal.
I don't
The
think,
one she put it.
I think she's saying it's not a dentist.
I don't think it's a goal specific to Dennis, but I
Okay.
think we're going to direct him.
That's what, yeah, I think.
He's
you're saying.
done a lot of work on it and he's going to
Right.
continue to do a lot of work on it, but ultimately the decision will be ours. And what happens from there is gonna be on him.
Okay, so.
Sorry. Welcome to
But
somebody
if
else.
you read this, under the objective, it says that Dennis is going to facilitate the public process.
Right.
Basically on our behalf.
Which is
The public
how so.
process is
Mhm.
the task force. The task force is going to bring a community forum to not only the task force, but to us. But Dennis as our CEO in the sense of the town organization is going to facilitate that with staff being assigned different tasks for that to come to play. So, we're not,
Is that not, so that's not a goal, is that what I'm hearing?
it's
No, it isn't.
It's a goal, what we're talking about is prioritization here though, but when the board says. This is the way we're gonna go with the police department, yeah, we expect them to be like, okay, here I go. So, I mean, it needs to know which direction though.
Much more convincing.
So this is vague because we don't even have that set direction yet.
I would say that you've come so far, you've done so much already that it is a goal.
So can I ask a
Oh,
question? Let's back up.
maybe I'm
to
wrong.
Katie.
All right.
How are we defining what a goal is? Because I see both sides of this. I know the task force is making the decisions, processing the information. I know that Dennis is spearheading how all of that's getting organized. So I see it as a goal in the basket of the town administrator to facilitate that process of where we're going to establish what we need for policing. So is the goal maybe
Subject to our
different?
final. as
Well,
selectmen.
sure. But is the goal what he himself has to accomplish? I'm pointing at you. Or is a goal more like, hey, he's facilitating this, or Dennis is coming up and he's.
Direction.
Exactly.
Direct Jared.
So that's,
Type
is that a goal?
We can't set them up and say, why didn't you do this? If
Right.
we haven't directed them into which direction.
What to do.
Use that same word.
I would say that if you say this isn't the goal, I still am gonna be spending a good third of my time every day working on the police project. So if you wanna make it not a goal, it's okay, I'm still gonna do it, you're still gonna direct me, and we have to get this law enforcement thing figured out before anything else you read on this paper.
Right.
I will not.
So it's a goal, but you're also, part of your goals are directing things. Right, is spearheading, is saying, hey, this is what we're gonna do. Right, exactly.
Hey.
Hey, that's it. Okay, so maybe we can now all.
Well, I still have a question.
Mhm.
Amanda, on merit, what is your time frame, please? Could you remind me?
So currently, when you pull the calendar. We have
August fifth
for the community,
is the last meeting of the task force.
okay, this is not my computer, it's my husband's computer, so therefore my calendar is non-existent, and I now feel incredibly traumatized by what's in front of me.
Oh, no.
Next task force meeting is July 18th.
That's right,
That's the task force.
right.
Shortly after that, on the 22nd, now that's our next board meeting.
29.
29th, a special meeting. Excuse
Uh-oh.
me, people, you are all invited to a special meeting where we are going to have the community present and invited to hear the presentations and recommendations from the task force. And to get feedback from the community forum, or the community.
Is that at 6 o'clock?
What time did we say we were gonna do it?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, yeah.
On
The 29th.
7:29.
So your Tuesdays are booked for the rest of this month, basically, right?
That's it.
Make no other plans, we're here.
I never do.
and when does our IGA run out?
We extend it through September 30th.
You said it's September, okay.
But that's really the direction.
Right,
Even if we say we're going with the county, there's still gonna be a lot.
Process,
A lot of.
so much to do.
It's not just extending the IGA, it's gonna be a.
So I do see this as a town administrator goal, and I do see it as a number one, but like and you did. So we're like, so we are all in agreement with that? Do we see it the same way?
I see it the same way, but one of the things that Dennis said, there aren't any timescales involved to it. And to me, this is not just a priority, it's a priority yesterday. And so there should be a timescale.
But we can't hold Dennis to a
No.
time frame if the board hasn't given him the direction to go
Do it.
where.
Well,
And we're.
Perhaps we can say something along the lines of ASAP.
Well, so for example, the task force dates are more or less dates where we
Yeah.
move forward, but we don't know a final date, to Mary's point, because
That's true.
we don't know where we're landing.
And we're still talking 6 to 18 months. All of these that Dennis shared with us are within a year and a half timeframe.
And I would caveat to just to temper expectations, anything that happens with the police department, no matter which direction. It is
Gonna
a
take them.
solid year.
Oh, absolutely.
It's slow.
Minimum.
Definitely, it's
of
gonna be
development.
slow moving.
Even if we do end up going back to our police department. I would say it's probably 3 years, truthfully, like if I'm looking at it from like a.
Before it's finalized.
And if we went with the sheriff's office, they gave us timeline of 18 months
Yep.
total, right, was it 12 or 18 months?
It was 18.
There was
18.
12 to get.
12 to get the deputies hired, and
Right, and
18
then
to get the
Up to speed.
scheduling.
So let me ask
Now
a
I'm happy
question
because
here.
now I'm getting dates. Thank you.
Are we looking at these, are we going to look at these and then come back to you with this, on this? Or is this a final, like this has to be finalized today?
Well, this is why we were gonna have a work session on it, so that we can have this
Right.
more of an open discussion.
Got you, okay.
We would probably be best looking at these, maybe not tonight, but coming back with our own prioritizations of this. Or there may be something that this board wants to say, we don't care about number 5, I don't even know what number 5 is. This is our priority instead, that, we can't give him
Right.
direction
Right,
without us knowing where we want it to
and
go.
that's where I'm going.
I don't
So,
want him spinning his wheels, in spite of how I thought I would do all the time.
so if we look at these goals, do we want to just read through them very quickly? Get a sense of how Dennis is seeing his goals, and then, to Mary's point, go back, think about it, and comment on this? Is that how we want to approach this board? Or,
Yeah, I
so,
think if we went through them and then.
yeah, just kind of review them without deep comment at this point, is that what we're saying, Amanda?
Yeah.
And then just kind of be able to think about that. So let's just go through and see what Dennis has on his list.
You know about number 1.
So we know about number 1. Number 2 is diversify and strengthen the local economy with targeted economic development strategy that supports downtown, et cetera. That's kind of self-explanatory. I think we can read through that. Goal 3 is to relocate or renovate town hall. I don't know how you can renovate this. Well, it has to both happen, right? But we don't want to be in it.
I didn't want to take anything off to the table.
Okay,
I'm jumping down the path because I've done a lot of work with staff on this already.
right.
So I have an idea about the cost of this building and adding on to this building versus some of the other options that we've been working on, so I have that up here. But I don't want to take it off the table, and for public consumption, it's good to still leave it out there as a possibility.
Okay,
Prior to this new board being seated, within the last 2 years, we have looked at different
right.
plans. One was renovation of this building. We had contracted with an architect to give us some preliminary plans. We had directed the former town administrator to negotiate on some, conversations about property. And Dennis has to be aware of all that. There's background that we've already put into this.
Right.
That we're not just going to start over. We might start over, and then there are new opportunities
That's right.
that we hadn't even
Consider.
didn't have in front of us. So.
So the town hall is on there. Goal 4 is to implement a long-term financial sustainability plan. 10-year financial roadmap. The objectives are set out. Goal 5. Did anyone want to comment on that, or did you want to?
I just liked it.
You what?
I was excited about it.
She's
Me
like,
too. I
she's
like
number
that
nerd.
I thought that was a good one.
Profession.
That would get a star on my list.
Big time.
Strengthen government transparency and civic engagement. Is that, and when you say
I'm all
digital,
for that. The website is a nightmare
yeah,
to begin with.
so digital portal is the
Sign up.
website. Okay,
See, and I thought that goal could be objectives under goal 6.
Yes. I agree.
it could be incorporated. So goal 6 is improve the professionalism, organization, and competency of the town organization, which it could go under there. So they
Yes.
could sort of.
Just
meld
add transparency
together.
and.
Mhm.
So goal 5 becomes an objective under goal 6, is that right? And I-
Well, it could.
It could, I'm just throwing it out there, because it seems like they're hand in hand.
Yeah, if I get a lot of heads nodding, then I can
Yeah.
edit this
You can
and
do
bring
that.
it back to you so you can see how it fits.
Okay.
So I'll meld the objective 1 with goal 5 and then add this in under goal
Into
6.
I also think, I personally would prefer some definition to the professionalism. I think that's a vague term subject to interpretation. And so trying to get it, very more specific, because how can we hold him accountable to professionalism when you think it's this and I think it's this and someone else thinks it's that? So let's make Dennis's job easy and say, this is our clear expectation.
And define it.
Yeah.
agree.
Mhm.
We used to do stuff like, you'll meet the deadlines, meetings to be posted, you could do,
You can get.
break
real
it down
granular
like that, even,
Right.
Minutes will be recorded a certain way,
Right,
edited by this time, whatever.
okay. Very good. Goal 7. Implement a budget.
Could I
Oh,
just,
I'm sorry, of course.
look at this objective 5 inside goal 6, as it currently is. To restart aggressive code enforcement activities to remove blight. I object to the word aggressive. I think that our role towards, town people should be not confrontational, which is what aggressive suggests to me. And I think if we're going to be doing code enforcement, how about we add in things like getting CDOT to restrike the roads that they should be restriking and improving the look of the town where we can get those sort of people involved.
Mhm. And you know, with aggressive, to me, what that meant, I see your point. To me, when I read aggressive, I just meant we're gonna take ourselves very seriously and take code enforcement very seriously.
Here's what I meant by that word.
Yeah.
Diligent and consistent.
Okay.
Those are the 2 words, and I just used aggressive so that you could pull me back from being aggressive. Does that make sense?
All I can think of is a high school cheer. Beep, aggressive, beep, beep.
So
Not the baseball net, Dennis, no.
my approach for code enforcement is a nice pretty letter that says, help keep Georgetown beautiful.
Proactive.
We have received a complaint, and here it is. You have a certain amount of time, please contact us if you need more time. That's the
And
first.
following up on all that, because there's been a lot of
Yes.
it that's already happened, and I think that's where you're going.
And that may fall back into our #1 goal of the police.
What?
See, it's all set.
Okay, so I'm gonna change that word aggressive to diligent.
Consistent and
Yeah.
diligent is excellent.
Okay, goal 7, implement a budget process that is citizen-based and focuses resources. I didn't know what you meant by
I
citizen-based.
was literally just about to ask.
Yes.
Like,
Okay.
what does that mean?
So, a lot of times municipalities will have their budget process and they'll present the budget. Then they'll have a hearing, which is required by state law usually, and then they'll adopt their budget. I like to start the budget process by having an open house or a retreat that says, you get together and say, here are our top goals again. For our budget, we want to make sure we're focusing our money on replacing capital or something like that, and establishing a fund balance of 20% our projected revenues, which is something we'll talk about when the budget comes out. And then we have a listening session, maybe we have a survey of the community, or maybe we have an open house where you say, please come to the open house, we're starting a budget process, and here's what the process is gonna look like, here's a schedule. And here are some of the things that we're facing. The finance director or the treasurer will talk about financial trends, tariffs are killing us, or something like that. And so by citizen-based, you're involving the community at the front end, instead of waiting until the back end when they're ready to adopt the budget.
Sounds like goal #5 again.
I think we got a lot of goal #1. No, that,
Or
No, I think that's great.
it increases our transparency.
no, absolutely.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
But then again, when we look at this time frame of 6 to 18 months. We may not be able to incorporate all of that into our upcoming process, because that. It might be,
Not enough
it might be aggressive. But I would like to think that we can take steps to that, I mean, because we are on the old schedule. We start our process
In August.
in
Yeah.
another month.
Right, in
Yeah,
August.
so I don't want you under the gun for that, and say, oh, where's that good plan, man? You know, but I don't wanna just go with what we have worked with all these years, because we all don't like that either. And so that's one of the reasons that we're looking for this.
So 18 months,
Well,
we'll
so-
celebrate next August.
So we have a relationship. People in this room and I, right? I'm doing your work for you and you're directing me. And so I hope that you're pressing me and pushing me, putting me under the gun. But in the end, when we get to the end of this and you say, hey, let's look at how you did, Dennis. Why didn't you do goal 3? And I can explain to you, well, you had me on goal 1 and that really turned into an animal that we didn't expect. And our partnership here will understand that that's what happened. It's a flow. So I'm hoping that that's the kind of relationship we're gonna have. We're not gonna have, okay, goal 1, did you get it done? Nope. Black button. Goal 2, how'd that go? And so, because it doesn't, they all don't exist in our guidance, right? This is all a big thing.
Well, that's why they have to be reasonable goals, not only for you, but what our priorities are, and
Yes,
No, but I think you've got a great set of, you know, maybe there's some tweaking and stuff like that. This is a great list of things that we ought to
It
do.
is.
I mean, we're on the rebound.
Yeah,
For sure on the rebound, and we all, you know, we really gotta make ourselves look pretty good. And honestly, so far, we've done a really good job. Let's keep that up.
oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so, you know, I think that this is a step in the right direction. There's something like, we burn the town hall down or anything like that, you know, these are really good.
But they're great goals, but the idea too is it's like COVID. We have to stop saying, oh, well, this is all because of COVID. We have to stop saying, oh, well, this is because we had a rough 2024. Okay, let's move on from that. I totally agree with that. And, you know, give him the direction to be successful in these goals. These aren't just his goals, these are our goals.
Yeah, right.
So, but he's chiming in and saying, yeah, I think I can do that.
Right.
I think you should do it.
and there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that, there's a lot to do.
Yeah, a lot to do. But to your point, it's organic. If something comes up or there's a wrench or there's some sort of horrible delay, we talk about it, we all know about it. But I like leaving it citizen-based now that I understand what it means. Maybe we can reframe it a little bit, only because I think it could be achievable this year. I think we could do something in August to bring in, and if we can't, we'll know what. Because it was just too short of a time frame, but I would leave it in here as a goal, because 18 months from now, we'll incorporate next August.
See, we're having a special meeting next week.
Gosh,
Man, we could start booking,
Two things on the agenda.
we could
Get
start
this
booking
out.
Tuesday for August.
yeah, we could do that, Tuesdays in the morning, okay, so going on to goal 8, expand.
Can I just
Oh, I'm
make-
sorry, post, yeah,
You know, in terms of a citizen-based or community involvement, however you want to describe it, the community at large will always come at you about how you're going to reduce taxation. There's always going to be some comment about my property taxes. Well, okay, that's not in our realm. Right? So how are you going to look at that? Your objective number 3 of reduce tax rates when possible. So that revenue matches expenditure, and then look at goal number 4 of a long-term financial plan, a 10-year plan, which, let's face it, it's a rolling 10 years. It's always 10 years, right? 1 year down the road, it's still 10 years. And we talk about sustainability there. How are you going to match that? Do you have any ideas on that one?
What's your question? Match sustainability?
No, it's, you know, how are we going to reduce tax rates?
like here.
I don't know, you haven't given me that assignment yet. So I can't jump to the end of this process until you say, Dennis, we want you to spend time on it.
Okay,
Because if you say, okay, that's all fine and dandy, Dennis, I'm not really interested in reducing taxes. I'm interested in getting a police department that's gonna cost us $750,000.
Bad tax.
Then I'll do that. But if you say, at all costs, reduce taxes, I could wipe the slate clean today. Lay off half of our employees and say, oh, there you go, cut taxes, but that doesn't fit with your mission, I don't think.
No.
So I don't think we wanna get into that kind of specificity. All I'm saying here is. I can look at the books when I arrived through it and see that the town had gotten into a habit of swirling away money. For a rainy day in case something came up. I'm saying, let's not swirl so much. Let's pay for the things we should have been paying for all these years, like replacing the trucks or roads and sidewalks and curbs. And if in the end we do all those great things and everybody's so happy and ecstatic with everything, we might be able to say, okay, instead of that sales tax rate the way it is, maybe we can ratchet it down for a year, maybe. But I should always be, and I would say the charge of this group should always be keeping an eye on that tax rate. Can we do something different with it to make it more business friendly or make it more conducive to our overall mission?
Or can those taxes be applied to a way that it actually affects that,
Right.
you know, maybe it occurs in new streets or, you know.
Just differently applied,
Right.
yeah, to.
But remember too, a lot of our taxes are very specific
Oh, no, I know.
and
Sure.
they'll sunset out. But it might be where, no, we're not renewing tax it, you know, but we can't take the money and use it somewhere else. But we can reduce money from the general fund.
So, yeah, and those are specifics, like to Dennis's point that he would get into. So if we look, thank you, if we look at goal 8, expand recreational opportunities, offer more quality of life amenities. I didn't really see this as an important goal, but, you know, I don't know how everybody else saw it. Comments on that?
I look at what's happening in neighboring municipalities and I think it is balanced because there is longtime residents in Idaho Springs, I'll use because they're pretty local. That would likely argue that their quality of life is currently being negatively impacted by things like the bike trail and the you know, there, and I think that you do need to find a balance, but I would also argue back that their sales tax base is providing them with substance to help with all of the other things that they benefit from. And yes, it's frustrating that we live in a tourist community, but we live in a tourist community and we need to embrace our only source of revenue, which is tourism.
It is what it is.
So being mad that tourists come to tourist town is a counterintuitive position.
No, for me, it was more about, the fact that this focuses on recreational as opposed to all, but I hear your point and it's well taken.
But this is our town administrator embracing what the Parks Commission
That's
has made decisions on. That we have accepted if it becomes a budgetary item, and he's the one that makes that happen. It
That's
all
right.
gets dumped on his lap, so it's recognition of parks or. You know, the facade one with the, you know, DRC and driving those projects, you know, Dennis referred to himself before as a project manager, and he is. He's got like 20,000 of them.
Yeah, the balls are.
So,
I mean, look at the project that was just completed for Argentine North, that improved quality of life for
Yes.
residents from the Lake District to have safe access to the entire town. That was was a huge improvement in quality of life for those people, even if they're not using it every day, it is meaningful. And I think that those are the types of projects that when we talk about quality of life, Parks is great. But I like to see that we're thinking about residents getting benefits year round.
Okay.
We can't have Uber Eats, we can have nice sidewalks. Next
So
week.
this morning, there was a post on Facebook. And I quote, talked to a surveyor at the Main
Defense
Street
post.
tennis pickleball court. So,
The fence post.
If we're not fencing in all
It's
our,
a fence
we're survey, that's it.
post, not a fence post.
that,
right, but my point is that I saw a picture of that area. It's appalling. It's in the most disgraceful state.
Where is this?
The
The
skate,
pickleball,
Skate park and
the skate park and pickleball.
Right.
You
So,
wait, it's gonna get better.
In terms of this goal 8. I think that is an area which needs to be looked at. It's being utilized by the community. Regularly,
I guess we gotta get,
more so than
I think Meadow's our next.
Vernon Park, where you could make certain suggestions. You know, I mean, I think
If you come to the Parks and Rec meeting, I think we're gonna go over the next project, which is Meadows, which is the park you're talking about.
right,
And that has actually got a plan where, and I think it's Creighton. Sorry.
Like 8.
I'm not a fan of this guy. Anyway, Creighton is actually going to be, spearheading a project that's going to make it into a formal skate.
Right.
And you should see the plans.
on
Let me get the plans to you so that you understand.
On
Cause you're right, it is.
Cases report, we're talking about parks right now, we're talking about goals and objectives for our town administrator and our priorities.
Right.
yes, but this fits within goal 8.
Well, so you're talking about.
I'm just
better maintenance of the
satisfied.
parks that we have. Right.
Yes.
And so, okay, so we can acknowledge that. So let's just read on to goal 9. Aggressively pursue economic development opportunities. I think we all know what that means for redevelopment, attraction, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's self-explanatory.
Not there is a good use of the word aggressively. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay.
Issue with that one.
That's right. And then goal 10 is protection of the water system. So those are the 10 goals that Dennis has written down. So I think what we can do then, Dennis, you're gonna make some changes, I heard you say, and then send this back out to everyone? Is that what
I
we're
have a
doing?
few, yeah, I have a few things to add to it.
Okay. And then we, as a group, can comment, and then we, as a group, do we have a special session for this? Or or should we just talk about this again on the 22nd, or when do you want to roll back to this?
Would it be possible to add it as another item within the special meeting next week? mean,
Does that
He
give
needs
us?
direction.
I don't think a week is enough
No.
for you all
Right,
to
it
give
is.
me. But Keisha, do we have, I'm checking the schedule, do we have a work session on the 22nd?
I don't think so, but the list of potential agenda items is quite long. So just to keep that in mind, so schedule wise. I don't have a work session message.
So we could do a work session on the 22nd. I don't think it'll be a
At
lot
5
of
o'clock.
discussion since we've had hardly discussion this evening.
Yes.
And so as soon as I have your comments and I've updated this, I can send it out to you. You can have it before the 22nd.
Well, you're gonna do it, send us out, we comment, we send it to you. Yeah.
But not only are we commenting, but aren't we
Prioritize.
Prioritizing,
prioritizing?
right.
And then we can have some consensus on that. And yes, Rob, we'll keep your goal.
New top shot, new top shot.
Thank you very
Okay,
much for your
so-
input. I appreciate it.
Thank you for putting that together, that was great. So next, we are
Thank you.
moving on to Police Judge and Board of Selectmen reports. I wanted to comment on the 4th of July this year. It was so good. Of course, it was my first one being involved, but I did think it was great. The parade was good. I've heard great feedback about the parade. I've heard great feedback about the barbecue. We added, as you guys all know, games this year, and those were a huge hit. So Rich Barrows, Rob Connell did a great job on the hot dog eating contest. The winner of the hot dog eating contest was a kid from Los Angeles who came to Georgetown because he read about Georgetown in a magazine, read about a 4th of July, told his mom, I think we should go there. They came here. We were setting up.
He read about, Mike Huggins being the
Yes.
two-time champion.
You're
and
right.
Wanted to win over Mike Huggins.
Yes,
And did.
yes. So he
mean,
comes here and then
Nobody
he says,
carried him off on their shoulders,
No.
as they should.
and we had like 3 or 5 people who had signed up to say, I'll be in the competition. When it happened, how many people were there? 100 people, some enormous
But
number,
there was-
5 million.
Yeah, we used almost every hot dog and.
Oh my
Good.
God.
I saw the winner walking back with 5 more on a plate
Yes.
down Rose Street, okay?
It was
Congratulations,
crazy.
But yeah.
Yeah, and so Gary Lane said we need to put up barricades to keep the crowds away from the hot dog eaters next year.
I couldn't even see it. I had
It
that
was
set up and. sound
Crazy,
system.
insanely fun.
But I really didn't wanna see it. I just wanted to volunteer for the grossest thing I could think of. With
Well,
that
without
and
you
eating
two, it
5 hot
was
dogs.
just
That-
really great.
Gross.
It was so good. And then we had the bucket brigade, which people were so happy to have back. Same thing, tons of people showing up. We thought, we didn't even have a team. And then once we started setting it up, people were like, I have a team, I have a team, I have a team. Yeah, and we did it. I know, it was amazing. And so that went on for probably over an hour and a half maybe. Then the gear relay where they wore gear, and the crowd was smaller then, but still same thing. They see it happen and they're like, oh, I want to do it. I want to do it.
Right.
All the way up to 9 o'clock to the Astro Tours and the stargazing. 15 people showed up at 9 o'clock at night at the parking lot at the trailhead for Rutherford This woman had 3 huge telescopes set up. It was really amazing. So kudos to this town, to Jess, to all of the volunteers, you two, Gary Haynes, could not have happened without it. It was just absolutely amazing.
Oh, it was great, and Jess did a really good job.
Really good job.
Yeah.
Really good job.
That's really
It
Yeah,
was-
it's like Jess was in, if anybody could have been in 2 places at once, she tried as hard as she.
Yeah, she was, she
And
was.
kudos to you for doing it the whole day.
Yeah,
I did, I was there.
You were.
I was right with her. We're like, what do we need? Oh my God, we need to get this set up.
Thank
How do
you.
we do it? Oh, well,
Thank
She walked by my house at like 9:20. I
yes,
was like, are you okay? And she's like, no, yes.
yes, exactly. We
Yeah.
were like, no voice, whatever, but
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun. It was really good. The Clear Creek County Library District is putting together a community club fair in, September, and I'll get the date on this, the 13th, this is Saturday. What they're gonna do is have any clubs that wanna be a part of this, have a table, get set up, they're gonna close down 14th Street in Idaho Springs by the library. And then if you have a club you wanna start, you can go there and start a club. If you have a club that you wanna make sure that they're represented in this club fair, please reach out to Libby at the library. And if you need her contact information, let me know, or you might even have it. And that's gonna be a very big deal for the county. And the idea is really, it comes off this Bowling Alone book, which I don't know if you guys have seen, or Join or Die, the movie. Basically saying people thrive in community. So when you're connected to something, a club or something, it's better for people's health and welfare and well-being. So that's happening. At the mayors and commissioners meeting this morning, a lot of talk about parking for everybody. Idaho Springs is planning on building a parking garage. That's in the planning stage. Even Empire is looking at their parking to kind of make their downtown look more like it has business parking with limits. And of course, Dennis is working on a parking plan for the town, basically looking at, we need to have increased spaces. We don't have enough spaces for the possibilities of visitors that we have. The Tourism Bureau is looking for a director. They have made some changes there. They're looking at the impact of Georgetown not paying lodging tax, and therefore are we contributing to the tourism board, which we're not. That's another conversation we'll visit in detail at another time. Empire is also putting up these domes, like glamping, camping domes, that are gonna go in by the fall, so you can go and lease those, which will be a fun thing. And the state has implemented a wildfire urban initiative to basically enforce people to keep trees away from their homes. This is for wildfire mitigation. So we'll be getting that, and that'll be passed out to this board to look at. We're not gonna approve it or not, it's just gonna be what it is, but we'll have a chance to look at it. So that's my report. And now we can start with Mary. Why don't we start with you on Board of Selectmen?
I don't have anything other than I just want to jump on what you had mentioned about 4th of July. I happen to be downtown visiting some businesses on Saturday, on 5th of July, and they were just raving about how exciting the day was, how successful the day was, all the different activities, all the different people that were attending. Just, to the town and Jess, because I know Jess was cloning herself and trying to be in 5 places at 10 times.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so, I know she spearheaded a lot of it, but I know a lot of people, we can always use more hands, but I just wanted to pass that on, that they're sharing that with all of us. Otherwise, I got nothing.
Well, thank you.
Rich. Monday, I'm hiking with. So I think Jeremy Jones, someone from the fire authority, Smokey, some other folks, Greg, that work with the historic lands. Because we're gonna survey the tree cutting that we do usually in around Thanksgiving. Georgetown tree sales, and just see if there's enough trees up there to warrant doing a tree sale. I volunteered I'll do a couple of weekends up there if we do discover there's enough stuff to cut.
There was some pushback on our program last December, 2024. And
Yeah, people were, it was unsupervised, so people were just going up and topping trees
Oh,
and
oh
doing,
my God.
they were not being good stewards. And so that's why the Historic Lands Commission, I volunteered to, because most of that happens on the weekend. And they actually quit selling permits. Because people were just being wasteful and ridiculous. So that's why I got involved as a volunteer, and then I'm gonna hike it. And we'll determine it even if there is adequate supply of trees. I know usually the town makes a couple of $1,000 off of that.
Yeah, it's not a huge revenue source, but there was some, and they were trying to, link the Christmas tree sales with, when they hit Christmas market going and the tree lighting for Thanksgiving
Yeah.
and everything, so.
So I'll be able to give you a better idea or report after you do that hike on Monday.
Very good,
Yes,
thank you.
Alex.
I hear cutting the trees. Are we going to replenish the stock somewhere? And replant?
Well, usually the fire department has marked trees, and a lot of times it's where the utility cut is. And they need to take those trees out anyways. Yes, but it actually
It's
is,
mitigation.
that's why the fire department's involved, because it helps with fire mitigation, and even the rules, you take it down with a 6-inch stump. The slash, you pile it, you cut it, you pile it, all that stuff wasn't done. And so that's why we're going up and taking a look at it and see if we can responsibly manage it. And so people aren't destroying very good trees and topping off and leaving 20-foot, poles with no top in it.
Thank you, Rich. Alex, you report?
I'll add to
Oh,
that,
sorry.
though, the town does have money budgeted to do tree plantings, of course, in there, I think we have that fund for the fall.
Hey, Rich, I'll do it now if you need help.
Yeah, I think there's like 4 or 5 of us going on the hike, so there'll be a crowd.
I just look at this in the light of the gentleman that we granted access to his house. And we asked that any trees that he cut down be replanted. I think that we need to be viewed as following our recommendations to others.
Thank you.
This is.
Or implemented.
Right, it's fire mitigation, so it's different.
I know, it's not,
So Alex,
take down a tree, you should really put another one up somewhere.
did you have a report, Alex?
No, I don't.
Okay. And then Amanda.
I do not have a report, but I have a request for data to maybe try to help us a little bit from CDOT. We had a really amazing 4th of July weekend, but I'm sure that the frustrated motorists that were probably all over town. We missed Thursday because we couldn't get home. And obviously these were circumstances that were past the trucker chain up situation.
Right, and there was an accident.
Yeah, it's, however, I'm wondering if there is still. Clear Creek County, Town of Georgetown, Idaho Springs, we take a lot of heat from people who are frustrated by what they perceive as lack of response, when really we're at the mercy of CDOT and CSP. But I'm wondering if, for informational purposes, we can get some data from the weekend. CDOT usually has pretty good backing of numbers, the number of staff that were available, so we can maybe start help prepping for like our emergency kits and these big weekends, like visitor information ahead of time, that we could post up and say, this weekend, Colorado Department of Transportation is expecting a 45% increase on the I-70 corridor. Just simple things that we can do. We can't control, obviously, the tragedy of a terrible fatal accident that has to be investigated.
Right.
But if we can continue to try and enhance our ability to provide frustrated motorists some comfort and services, I know it's really hard. Again, I was here Thursday, so I didn't see the mess, but I heard about the mess and I heard it was terrible. So, but there's actually some TikToks about people being frustrated, and it's not a great look for us as a town, but
Right.
they're mad at us.
Right.
And they're mad at Idaho Springs for the one on Sunday. So these are, and again, it's just people misdirecting anger, but I like to, when we have opportunities to go, actually, well, we can't do this, but we can do this for you. So that's all, that was my only report, and CDOT does have some resources.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Dwayne?
Yes, housing authority, we're another step closer for getting our executive director. Kurt came and talked to us too, he wasn't as good at selling the story to us as he is to this board. I wish I could have got to the point. I know what you guys would be like 0.5 seconds quicker with asking me questions, but the thing is with this, we put a code in place. People, contractors can fit that code, right? Or they can complain that they're not making their profit margin. It's tough for me, and nothing against y'all, it's tough for me that we're getting sold on, we gotta get this done, he's got people buying for
I
this,
agree.
right? The problem with that is it's simple, and I'll keep it simple this time. He's using elevation so that he can make his profit margin up here. He can sell these correct patient at any given time, all he has to do is drop his price. Which one are we gonna support? Are we gonna support affordable housing, or are we gonna support the developer, making sure he makes his profit margin? And that's a passion for me, because, yeah, the 120%, that's what he's going off of, that max. He can drop that price at any time. And so now we're wasting Gary's time, we're doing a special meeting, when at what point do we say, no, here's the code, fit into the code. And if you can't build it for that price, don't build it.
So wasn't part of the problem also the management, not the problem, part of the challenge is
Well-
that they don't have access to the money. So what elevation brings to the table is something more broad
Yeah.
that
We
we.
can drop the cost, drop the price. He's utilizing ways, and I haven't figured out yet, maybe Keisha's better at figuring that out. But how he wanted to do, he actually, in all honesty, it was more beneficial to him to use the housing authority, but we're not ready yet to meet the elevation, correctly?
I
So
don't
that's
really
what he said, I mean, that's what he's like, I'd rather use you guys, it's more beneficial.
He cited so that he couldn't lower them, but
He wasn't
3%.
gonna lower the price.
No, but he said by state statute, and I don't know what that statute is, he was very specific, he said, by state statute, I can only come down 3%, I don't know if that's because he's
So
got.
what he's doing is providing a grant, so you can't provide a grant of more than 3%. The
Got it.
state, I don't think, can dictate how much he sells.
Okay, so I
He
see what you're
doesn't need
saying.
that, if you don't need
No, I-
that, if you just drop the price, that's the whole problem, is everybody wants to make the most that they can.
Well, yeah,
So a contractor that goes for profit, or a contractor that does specifically affordable housing, I get the ones that do strictly affordable housing. Can find those grants to help out, but I'm keeping it simple, as 35 years of doing this and building and selling houses.
Right.
And just selling one where I drop the price so that people could get the loan to buy it, which is truly affordable. So I mean,
I
I'm
also
comparing
respect
apples
the
to
fact
apples.
that this, I mean, we're out here, we can talk about it after the meeting, but these are Fannie and Freddie backed, and there's good incentives, and I don't think they're gonna sit there if it's.
They're not, I mean, if I.
No, if we don't go with elevation, they're gonna sit there.
Oh, I know.
That's what I'm saying. I know, I understand we feel frustrated, but we should have had that discussion at the agenda.
If you assume that the developer is willing to take a hit financially in the name of affordable housing, you're absolutely right. But there's not a single developer on the planet that's gonna do that. They're going to.
Until you don't have to go there.
Right, but they're trying to get that money from the state to backfill the discount.
I feel like we're
But my
out of
point-
bounds.
But my point being though is, like, for me as a representative, I just need to know the direction when it comes to the housing authority, if we're gonna support developers at any cost. So that they can make their profit margin to give us the idea of affordable housing.
Well, I'm.
But it's not an
So,
idea
what
of
first we
affordable
have
housing,
to-
it is affordable housing.
Well, we had this year's fact,
Elaine, this nonprofit is gonna provide affordable housing. The benefits they provide are also mortgage assistance, long-term management, and some other programs that are gonna help, like he was talking about. If the people who qualify for this program have some kind of financial problems in the future, they'll also help with that. So no problem with PCLT in particular. You're like, we don't know what his motivations are financially, but I do feel that ECLT is a worthy nonprofit that is gonna help us achieve the affordable housing.
Well, he says, and he worked with Jerry and,
Yeah.
you know,
that's my next point though, but that's my next point too though, and that's where I kind of wanted to finish asking, if this is the direction, then let's jump on board to that too, it's just. Where's that balance at? Because Kurt said it best, well, what else you guys gonna do? There is no land in Georgetown. But also too, I don't like getting bullied into this has to be done
I
right
think-
now. Because what about the next ones? If this is their working farm, how is the next one's gonna work farm?
He's
Are we setting
portfolios
people up?
tonight, which is fine, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day,
And I agree.
this is, I think this is more about elevation and less about
I do.
Right.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, that to me
We've
is like.
never had an affordable housing situation or anything that is
Like it.
this kind of management. I mean, they're going to not only help somebody get into a home, but they're going to also make sure that it, it stays an affordable.
Right, and that's what.
But I'm just, but my point is, we've never done this before. This is our first rodeo.
Well, so then the real question is, and I'll, it's just because this is off of that, so the real question is, and it's something we could look at down the road, what do we need a housing authority if we have elevation?
Well,
maybe the housing
because we
authority-
actually, exactly, so that is a really good question, and I think that's what happened 2 months ago, when we said, do we wanna go with elevation? Or can the housing authority take it over? We would have gone directly. to
But I think
that.
that's what my point, that housing authority, even if we.
Yeah,
I don't, it's gonna be a long time before we get off of this, I
And
mean, they've been in business since 17.
But that's the
Yeah.
goal that the housing authority is modeling after.
right,
In, on a smaller scale, because it's just Clear Creek County. They, Elevation says they have 350 homes already built and they're working on another 700 or 300 and 700, whatever
They're
they're
both
about.
single homes.
But
Right,
that's
exactly.
Colorado wide. We want the housing authority, we are investing, the town of Georgetown is investing in the housing authority. To, in a sense, bring that same level for Clear Creek County.
No, and I agree with that, the thing of it is it's. We, housing authority wants out because there's these 5 that have to be sold right now, and you can't wait
Yeah.
4 more weeks. So that's my point being is like, as us, do we? Are we willing to take the time? And is he really, are those people really walking away? People that want affordable are not walking away.
Yeah,
That is
So,
not.
I don't think that they're walking away, but I also don't want, I mean, if they're in a situation where they can't get out of houses or something. But like they're in a right situation and they're like, oh my god, if I don't get a house by this, I'm gonna have to live in a hotel and that's part of my down payment. And oh my god,
Pay for people to live in a hotel. while we're
so hang on,
paying.
so let's
But let me
stay,
finish real quick, so off of that, where I'm going with that is. The problem with this, and I see this as a problem for the next year. We're gonna lose out for Clear Creek County to companies like Elevation. Because it's gonna take us that time to get in place, just like it did with Elevation. So for the housing authority, because this is a discussion, signing on to the housing, do we really wanna do it, does Georgetown wanna do it themselves? And where I'm going with that, and I get what you're saying, Mary, and I'm 100% on board, yeah, we want that specific. But here we just lost this, instead of housing authority, because we don't wanna wait.
But we only lost phase 1, we lost
Right,
5
right.
units.
right,
So, and which is why I wanna put the brakes on, because if you guys have that pie in the sky and get up and running, and that's your goal, and by the time phase 2, because I'm sorry, we know how fast Bighorn builds.
right,
By the time
You guys will be
Centennial
ready.
builds, maybe the housing authority is closer to that, and they're receiving the same grants from the state or federal government, or wherever those grants are coming from, to fund their pockets, to fund the buyers.
just
So,
so.
and obviously, so saying, I just want the board to understand, like that and the direction too, because just like you, it's. What do we want out of the direction at, because that's what I fight for.
Exactly, so, but thank you very much.
And I'm done.
And I really appreciate it, okay, so, just in the interest of time, so Rob, do you have?
No, I don't have.
Hey, I wanna hear from some park stuff,
Yeah,
because there was a
yeah.
question.
Yeah, what about parks?
I do
We
wanna,
were,
Franklin is not building the skate park.
no, he's not, but he did give us a rendition, didn't he?
No, that
That sounds
was, we solicited some engineering drawings a couple of years ago, and then we also have some. Grad students who've been working on some.
That's it. Students.
Yeah, and they do.
That's what it
work
was.
on the lagoon stuff,
Right,
but he's not, he doesn't.
He's not working on that Meadows
He's
Park.
not
We
on the
don't
skate
care.
park, yeah.
Right, but we do have like some students that have actually submitted us some renditions and some
Yes.
examples of what they would have done. Had we, or if it's an actual idea, we could go forward with it.
Yes.
I mean, the only thing we're missing is a kiddie pool, that's all I can.
But,
Tell
well,
us about
thank you.
Nonetheless,
Fences in the survey
Also-
that social
All right,
media is
also-
very part of.
we looked at Pizza Park, a lot of people don't realize that. If everybody thinks you can pull off and there's a big view and there's some picnic tables. If you look past the trees, there's a plateau there, and they were thinking maybe RVs, an RV park. But then again, it actually, I think a lot of people said, I don't want an RV park that close to town, and so they wanted to keep it more town towards the end. But Pizza Park does have a plateau back there that's kind of hidden and.
Kevin also just built a bike path back there, so. Kevin just built a bike path.
Oh, right. Right on, yeah. Oh, and then, yeah, what is it, the Greenway Park, you know, it's gonna be a bike loop, this is gonna be like a track, a pump track. And it's gonna actually, well, this was another student, you know, the students were.
We don't have those funding for these projects.
So,
So there are things
but
where.
Alex is gonna fund it because these parks were deplorable. He's going to fund it, we've got the money. No, I'm just. But, nonetheless, there is an interest afoot in our parks to try to, did you ever see the master plan by any chance? Oh, it was expensive, so, we did not, solicit that architectural firm, but we're using it as a blueprint. And Strauss Park is a gleaming example of one of those things being completed, but we're not done yet.
We also have the very specific metric of sales tax, so you know that it is linked to sunset, but it is wholly dedicated just to parks.
Right.
0.5%, sorry, 0.5 or 0.25.
I don't know, he.
Doesn't matter.
So, right, well, so just
0.5?
in the interest of staying on task.
Sorry.
So are you good, Rob?
I am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Tom.
And the federal process.
Just while we're on it, the meeting was rescheduled for tomorrow, so if you want to attend the parks meeting, it is tomorrow at 6 p.m.
Thank you. Town attorney report.
Nothing like that.
Okay, town clerk report, do you have that or probably
It's
not one?
simple, there's nothing really big with that, except that, the bridge will be working the hybrid starting next Monday.
Oh, great.
Oh, nice.
When are we expecting the final report and discussion from the election?
Right.
August.
Is it,
She was derailed with hip surgery, and so we want her to be here to present the report to you and answer questions that you don't have.
so are we talking the first meeting in August?
We don't have a date yet.
Okay,
I haven't talked to her since she went in for surgery.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is she all right?
Thank you.
Yes, she was just having a hip replacement.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Just.
All right, Q, town treasurer's report.
The audit's proceeding smoothly with the help of Lorraine Trotter still. Our only hiccup with it is the CPA member has been challenging to reach. I've called, I've emailed, I talked to one person, but not person doing our audit. Still waiting to hear back from them for everything they've requested. I've submitted to their portal, so they have the information. Lodging tax, Q1. Their total pay was 25,748.40. Full breakdown. Two will also include Q2 of this year. Will be. Not at the next meeting after that, next meeting, I'm out of town for the training.
No, the August.
So the first meeting in August, you'll have Q1 and Q2, which works in the benefit of lodging taxes due by the 20th of the month. So Q2 just finished of June. So instead of having projected numbers of June for lodging tax, you'll have actual numbers of June.
Great.
That's all it's.
Our prior treasurer used to give us this might not be the exact term, but like a quarterly fund balance breakdown. Remember those? Yeah. So that we could see where we stood as the year continued.
Yes, that's a quarterly report.
He's gonna provide that.
So, but it wasn't just specific to like lodging tax or sales tax, it's going to be the entire budget, correct? Okay, just want to make sure.
Thank you, Q. Keisha, town administrator, assistant town administrator report.
Not the town administrator, no. I like Dennis too much. So. You know, I've contacted them a number of times, I keep trying to get the utility bill in front of you guys again. Found out from recent emails that they are merging with Civic, which is why they've been somewhat unresponsive. Civic is another software company, that's where they're getting the utility platform from, so they are doing a presentation in a couple of weeks on that. So soon, hopefully. I will have a utility billing and charts, including that one, to present to you. Our lead line installations are progressing smoothly. I emailed Chelsea about the Silver Plume Sewer Commission, she's the clerk in Silver Plume, if you don't know her. And we will be contacting the appointees for that commission soon to schedule a date and a location. And Lakeview Flats is gonna be in front of the Design Review Commission on Thursday for phase 2 of Lakeview Flats. We did bump the fence RFP for the park back another week because there was a technical glitch with BidNet. People were unable to submit, well, they could have submitted directly at the time, but they got worried about it. It was earlier in the day, it was closed, so. We're gonna open it for another week. Bob did get a hold of the company that installed our trees in Strauss Park, so we're gonna be getting that aspen replaced sometime in August. And
Doesn't the big tree have a disease, or is it?
Something is going on.
no, we were really concerned about that, and we had land come out and they said it's fine.
Oh.
We thought it was dead, but it's not,
Oh, good.
and they fed it some food, that should be doing just fine.
There are, yeah, we somebody asked me to.
Yeah, we did not get any bids for Strauss Park, the parking lot, so Bob is gonna go out and solicit some quotes from companies. Not on midnet, but just get some quotes, so that we should still have some things to try to do.
And that's gonna be paved, correct? It's not gravel, it's paving.
It's a. I would have to look at it.
Okay.
So we approved, I wanna say it's paving, but it's chip and seal, I think.
Yeah, because it does get the rain.
Okay.
And the RFP for Foster Place also did not get any bids, so that week there is soliciting some quotes for that.
So the surveyors have been out for some of the parks property, all the parks property.
The survey work they were doing today was just putting some posts, we haven't really doing survey work, but there is a quote in front of Parks tomorrow night to make a recommendation to you guys about whether or not it should be approved. So, and I believe that survey is the one for is that Meadows, the basketball court,
No, that's not Meadows, Meadows is.
whatever the basketball court.
Oh, that's
is
a
called.
I thought it was.
But it also encompasses an area, that green space
You can
on
complete
the
a
creek
survey,
side.
you can complete a survey down there and accepted that one, and that's where the fence is gonna be. So,
And the fencing that is intended to be, we're getting flack on social media because that's where all the correct information is shared. So clarify for us, remind us please. What the,
the fencing is going to be split rail, either cedar or pine, so if you don't know what split rail is, it's very simple posts, very simple 2 rails. And it will be permeable, so you can walk in it, you just won't be able to drive. But the intent of the fences is to reclaim parks from property owners who have encroached on parks. So we had a survey done, we identified the park boundaries, fences will be there to maintain those areas.
And the bids that were out that they're considering are 2 parks, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Triangle Park was one of them, right? I thought that was the problem at 15th and then that the park, everybody did.
Or we have to look at it, I don't know.
I thought there was a problem with the parking over there.
That certainly is one that they're considering.
Okay.
We are expecting 3 quotes on that, that contractors reaching out to us, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, that's all you guys.
Thank
Mine
you.
just allows us to respond when people are.
sitting.
Exactly. They are.
There were some
Thank
big posts put in that that's what they want us about, up here in the skate park, and just indicator markers, they're not for any kind of, stuff.
And there is that big lot, there's another lot privately owned between.
Yeah.
The skate park, tennis courts, whatever, and then the houses there that. Is not ours.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the parks or anything, so
That's
that's
ridiculous.
probably what they are picking up for.
Thank you.
That's not really what I mean to.
Some-
They know they don't have a fashion lot next to the.
Yeah, without. Okay, county administrator report?
Okay, thank you. In addition to the written report that you have before you in the packet, I also wanted to let you know that hydrant flushing is going to resume next week. We are going to communicate that very well so that when groundwater comes out, people know what that's from. The reason that we are resuming this next week is because Ryan is preparing in case there are any water restrictions. We don't want to get caught with having to finish hydrant flushing after the restrictions, because then it's basically a moot point. Banky submitted an estimate and a plan for modification of the roundabout over by Cabin Creek. And the reason there, I think, is self-evident. You all were aware of the accident that happened towards the end of the winter here. He himself has difficulty bringing his rigs and equipment around that area. So he's come up with an interesting way of, and a low-cost way of making that a better roundabout. We also would like to address the drainage problems there. If you don't know, there's significant drainage issues over there around that roundabout. So this is probably going to be a next budget year project that we're gonna try to include. Yeah,
I mean, like, you couldn't have had one approved them, more so,
especially if you're standing next to it, right?
yes, of course.
July 22nd, I wanted to remind you that Haley Aldridge is going to be here to present you with an update on the work they're doing. Kenneth will be here. Also, Road and Bridge is now collecting estimates for concrete work for curb work, specifically downtown. So you should have that coming before you at some point, so we can get to work on that sometime in the fall. One thing that I wanted to ask you for this evening is that we are in dire need of replacing the flower barrels that are down on 6th Street. If you haven't noticed, a lot of them have fallen apart because they are just old. So I have come to this conclusion that we either come up with something brand new and we spiff up downtown and don't spend money on replacing the barrels this summer, that we do this as a budget initiative next year, or everybody loves the flower barrels and we just go ahead and start replacing them now and getting them replaced before Labor Day. So
Have any been taken by town staff? Like it were falling apart?
We removed some that were falling apart.
Okay, that's what, yeah.
So do we use
That's
that
all
for
it's about helpful. See, there was a running conspiracy theory on that for a minute as well. But
yeah,
The property owners own some of those barrels, so we only removed the ones that town owns.
From a historic perspective, we will get pushback, we will get pushback. If we were to replace the whiskey barrel style, because that doesn't fit the
Wow.
era, exactly, we are not the wild,
What
wild.
about a horse feeding trough instead of?
Well, I think that we could probably see some of the plans that could be proposed for the upcoming future.
I've got great
Under
ideas.
the goals, and maybe they would look more like that than something else, so.
We did consult with Chris Pratt. See if there were any historic planters downtown or what she would recommend, and she said there just weren't any. and
Exactly.
No.
There weren't any and there shouldn't be. Look, my vote is not to replace the whiskey barrels and to go with something.
So bite the bullet and just ride out the summer, and then in the budget, we're gonna have a grand proposal for you to consider. Great. That's-
And is that goal number
11.
4 or 5 or 6? He's already wants those cute little check marks.
Or that.
They will not be
Or EPC.
the wooden ones that you see in Crested View.
Yes.
Okay, just so you know. But, okay. Grass is long in Worland Park, we're mowing this week, just in case you get questions. Okay, it's done.
Okay, yes, I understood. I was there this morning for, oh my god, I've been in house today.
Striping is underway. If you haven't seen, the guys are out doing striping. We told you last week that we were gonna start this week. It's gonna be an ongoing thing. Let's see, what else? This right here represents a work of loved by Jerry. This is a code enforcement packet that is gonna go out this week.
Yes.
I've given you a number of notices that this is gonna happen, but we were waiting for a lot of photographic evidence from Safe Build. We now have it all put together, so this is going on tomorrow. I'm warning you because I have done extensive research on the history of this. And every time it comes before the board, it disappears into Neverland. It doesn't go anywhere, so.
Can we see this?
Yes, I can pass it on to you.
Thanks.
It is going to probably raise actors, so be prepared if you get,
Is it aggressive?
it's very aggressive. It is so aggressive.
Sorry, Alex. I-
That's crazy works.
Okay. That's all I have. Any of us, remember, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I circle back in a light way to talk about Granella Pass? And I know you shared some information with us via email. However, the potential for some traffic control management is upsetting our merchants on Sixth Street. Whereas word is getting out, this could be social media. My same definition, word is getting out that that the pass could be closed during the peaking season. And we have some information, you addressed it a little bit. I would just like the town and us to get ahead of that and not wait for the SOP that's going, the draft SOP that's gonna come out from Clearfield County and Park County, where they're gonna say, this is it, this is what we're doing, and it doesn't take into effect the impact of any kind of closures that would impact our town and our businesses. I mean, as crazy as it gets, Sixth Street thrives. They will tell you, the merchants will tell you that between leaf peeping season weekends and Christmas market is what gets them through the entire year. And I'm sure our own resident business entrepreneur here could reflect on that. I don't want us to wait. My biggest push to everyone here on this board is let's not wait for the counties to say this is what's gonna happen. Let's make a stance from Georgetown saying we can't let Georgetown be closed for the three of the most important weekends. for
So are they
regular
actually
folks.
talking about full stop shutting fast?
No, who knows what they're talking about, but
They're talking about closing the pass if they get into a situation where they have wall-to-wall cars and traffic is at a standstill and they can't move anywhere. That nothing is finalized, and so that's why I asked for a draft of this thing. It's easy to talk on these Zoom calls about, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this, and they could scare everybody to death. So I asked for this to be put in a SOP. Until I see it in writing, I don't know what they are serious about and what they're not serious about. Up until this point, the position of Georgetown is that we do not support closing the pass or the highway off ramps.
Right.
We want it to remain open. So if they get to a point where they feel like safety is a problem, they have the authority to close these, but not without our input.
I
So-
understand, but I want us to make that in a written statement now, as they're considering their draft SOP. So that they don't think that Georgetown is ready to close, and that allows us to tell our constituents here, to tell our owners and our operators. That the town is doing everything we can to make sure that Georgetown stays open on these
I
weekends.
do, can I, yes, so I spoke with Brian and Colton this morning, and I also attended several of these meetings. Any closure would be in the absolute, like, most critical situation where it's an absolute emergency, because there's so many people in town that they can't even get emergency vehicles through. They have no intention of closing Winona Pass ahead of that situation.
Right.
It's purely if we cannot get police and fire to somebody.
Which happened last year.
But
Right, we
One
did
time
have that
thing.
last year.
And we had so many people that our Sixth Street and our restaurants couldn't even serve all of the people that were in town, so. You know.
But that's not the message that people are hearing, and so
That's
I would like us to
Right.
take a stance.
Totally great.
And again. Do are we just laying back and saying, okay, Clear Creek County and okay, Park County, just do what you want? Or are we having an active and aggressive seat at the table? I know, and I'm dead serious here.
Yeah.
And saying,
aggressive.
you know, this is the last, you know, possibility. Is this under these circumstances?
Yes.
Georgetown is saying, keep the businesses open, keep the streets open, keep the hiring.
So
Exactly.
I will write a letter to
Right.
that effect.
Yeah.
To reiterate what I've already communicated during these Zoom meetings.
Great.
And I will circulate this letter. I will give you a buffer of a couple days, so if somebody sees, hey, you're not being aggressive enough in this letter. And I'm not joking now, if you're not being aggressive, please be more to the point with. And I'll send that letter on to Captain Rubin. And the people that are writing this SOP so that we are on the record.
That's what we want.
And if you can take the letter that I send and circulate that on social media and it serves a purpose, wonderful. But make no mistake, we are being aggressive and we are not gonna shut down Georgetown. And when we even have to go the next step, right, which is. However, the state finally ends up treating with highway access, right? However, the counties decide they wanna do their business. Georgetown has to figure out what we wanna do with our town.
That's right.
Internal, so when people come in, they come off the highway, they get to the roundabout, then what, right? How are we gonna manage that?
That's our
And
plan.
I say that we need to be very proactive on that, we need to funnel traffic a certain way along a one-way. There's just a lot of options that we still have to consider.
Which the question off of that too is, it's kind of funny if you think about it, they wanna cost us for this for the peaking season, but yeah, they can't, no.
No, they don't, they don't.
Let me finish.
Say that.
Let me finish, Sean. Okay, please. So where I'm going with that is while in the winter time, when we have a full-on snowstorm and they still let all the cars make it all the way up here in Florida town. And where I'm going with that is, and this is where I support that, us staying ahead of this is actually getting a plan in place so that we can move the cars around, and then that doesn't happen. I'm not saying they purposely want to do that, but their idea is, oh, well, it's busy. The thing of it is once we get that many cars in, what are they really gonna use that anyway? Everything's backed up and the highway's backed up and nobody's going anywhere. It happened a couple of years ago, I mean, I dropped my kid off in Dumont, the bus driver lunch and said, hey, have fun getting home. Well, while I'm going there, you know, our farmer officers was like, yeah, if you go there, you're not getting back, because the frontage road is dead stop because nobody would close anything just so the locals can get through. We need to have, off of that, we need to have a plan in place, just to get, for fire, it doesn't have to be locals, but just to get, which is what you're saying.
We do have a traffic plan
Yeah.
that keeps the road open, which would stop emergency vehicles from being trapped, which would prevent the closure without pass. So that's the important part, is that emergency vehicles can get through. I just don't want anyone to think the county is like trying to code, you know, I feel like the way we're talking about it makes it sound like the county.
I would like to say
That's
that
how
for
it's
an
done.
effect, because that's been changed over the years.
I think it's a good idea for us to have the letter to get ahead. This is what we think, but the rubber meets the road when that SOP is in your hands and you can read the details of what they're thinking, because it could be. Totally different than what is being circulated at this point,
Or it could be a done deal.
right, so.
And we should see the traffic plans to the point. We need to
Yeah, we'll
understand.
revisit that too, just
Yeah.
that I mean, we're still far enough out, and I know we discussed that.
We'll pull that out and send it to you in your Friday email.
It's just gonna, you know, I would
Should
should
be
down
done.
where we fire cars at, how do we get people through?
Amanda, did
We
you have a
always-
final comment? Okay.
If I send this letter to you in the Friday email, will the weekend be enough time for you to review it and let me know before I email it on Monday?
Sure, sure.
Okay, great.
Okay, any other business? Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? It
Make
is,
that motion.
sorry, 8:13. I'm sorry. Who,
Seconded.
who made the move?
Mary.
Mary, Alex, you seconded? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?